Welcome to Let's Talk Petty. We're not petty, but we love to talk about it.
We're not LTP this week.
Not LTP. We're always LTP, baby. I'm Kate.
I'm Andrew. I don't even know how to come back from that one. Don't know how to come back.
Are you embarrassed that we're always LTP?
I'm LTP for life.
Baby.
I got that tattooed all over my arm. LTP for LYFE.
That's what that means?
Yep.
It's good to know.
So we've got our mini episode. I've got a mini story, although it's not too many. It's a little bit of a longer story, so I'm going to get right into it.
Let's go.
We're in pro revenge this week.
Okay. I'm going to pay
gonna
extra attention.
We're going to get your judgment at the end if this is pro revenge. So this one is entitled, I went from school teacher to chairman of the board of a big company for the sake of revenge.
Okay.
It already sounds a little bit not believing it. That it's going to be pro.
No,
Like, I can see your head. Oh, a school teacher. What are they going to know about pro revenge?
School teachers are never petty.
All right, I'm going to start with a story. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. When I was a tiny kid, it starts off a little bit sad. Just going to warn you. When I was a tiny kid, my father was my best friend. He worked multiple jobs to support my family, all while powering his way through law school. He even built a couple of small businesses from the ground up with a couple of his friends. All while doing this, he managed to be the best dad ever, spending as much time as he could with my mother, myself, and my baby siblings. One day we found out he had stage 4 stomach cancer, the kind you don't recover from. My mother and I stayed by his side all the way till it was over. The last memory I have of my father was when he was completely immobile, practically a vegetable at this point, with tubes going in and out of his body, and me just praying that he'd still be able to remember who I was. All the guy could do was smile at me just to let me know he still recognized his son, even if the doctors told us most of his memories would be gone. Eventually, he fell into a coma for some days before waking up to say goodbye to my mother, who was by his side when he died. She was a housewife, so we really didn't have much to go on after his death. Told you it was sad.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of need that for the groundwork of the story.
Oh, okay.
So I understand why this person, which is username is Echo1771, started off with the sad part.
Okay.
Sometimes you need that. So enter my grandfather. He was one of those self-centered boomer types who makes everything about himself. After my father died, he'd use the newspaper obituary to boast about his dead son's grades and achievements, which I realized seemed to be the only thing my dad was to him. One of those
weird.
people.
Yeah.
And is there anything you're wondering about this at all so far?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, well, it continues on. Just in case you were wondering, yes, we are Asian. In case you were wondering.
You caught me this whole time. That whole story. Are they Asian? Is he going to say, is he Asian? God, how are we supposed to know? Why wouldn't he start off? Is he Asian or not?
Who
You
knows?
caught me.
I caught you. He caught you. User
Everybody
1771
now.
caught you.
Everybody knows.
My mother was grieving and trying to find a way to make ends meet, and my grandfather graciously offered to help her control my father's 2 businesses to help support us. My mother agreed because she didn't have any experience. So got left to the mother. She had no idea what to do, so grandfather steps in and helps run the business, who went to law school? No, his father went to law school.
Mm.
So his father steps in for the businesses. While we grew up, the two businesses didn't provide much for us, likely because my father was one of the big reasons they were thriving. Mom was in and out of multiple jobs just to keep us floating. My grandfather offered to help put me and my siblings through school. I managed to score some scholarships with some good schools growing up, so thankfully he didn't have to do as much for me, but we were really glad that he helped out with my siblings. After I made it out of school, I found out that my family was broke and my 2 siblings were still making their way through medical school. My sister even offered to stop and just get a job, but I told her to keep going because she was doing so well that she deserved to graduate. My grandparents had cut us off because they didn't approve the directions my siblings took in life, especially my sister, who was, for them, too female to have a career in medicine. My grandmother is a bit of a misogynist. Quote, "Why are you wasting your time and money becoming a doctor? You're just going to have children and quit." End quote. In case you're wondering, they're Asian.
Word.
Which I feel like probably is the culture of people in that age bracket from back then, maybe.
That is a terrible way to view.
But it was normal for, I'm not saying it's good, but that was normal for the thought process of people
Maybe
in that
it's
generation.
time to grow a little bit.
It is, but not that generation.
It is hard to think outside the box.
When you've been taught something your entire life and thought it is hard to change.
That's sad.
I'm not saying it's right, but it is hard. So, misogynistic grandmother. I was working as a high school teacher. So this guy gets out of school, becomes a teacher. I was working as a high school teacher when I was contacted by one of my dad's old business partners for one of his companies. After I asked him about how the company was doing, he told me that my grandfather, who was still in control of my father's shares, was siphoning money from the company for himself, and he was earning way more than he was giving me and my siblings for our education.
Sounds about right.
So grandfather steps in. "Oh, I'll be glad to help you guys." Gives him his bare minimal and takes way more for himself to capitalize off of his son, who was proud of the fact of how great his grades were.
It's nice.
Great person. So all our lives, he'd been making us feel indebted to him for the money that was supposed to be ours to begin with, and he lied to us by telling us his dad's companies weren't making any money for us at all.
And using their misogynistic grandmother against them.
Things are not looking well. We also realized that when he cut us off, he was cutting us off from our own money, forcing my siblings to drop out and give up careers that they had been working their whole lives for. What's worse is that this was our father's money, and we knew that he wanted it to help us provide for our futures even after he died, and here comes his a-hole father basically crapping on his legacy for his own enrichment. I even found out that he used his position to take possession of the company's office space and force them to set up shop in smaller, cheaper offices while renting the original space out under his own name to the company's competitors to make money from them too. All while I had to work multiple jobs to help my mother and siblings pay the bills.
Wow.
So, probably a little bit upset at this point.
Just a little bit.
I mean, that's pretty bad to have grandkids and basically not give them the bare minimum where they've got to drop out of school and everything else. And he even said at the beginning of this story that they didn't have a lot of money from these companies growing up when they actually did, and his grandfather was hiding it from them.
Well, yeah. If he's lying to them about it, then they're not going to know any different. It's so terrible because they probably really trusted him. I mean, this is their grandfather.
You're supposed to be able to trust your grandfather.
Of course, as soon as the grandmother said what she said, I would have been like, oh, I don't trust you at all.
Definitely something off. I recognized that no matter what my grandfather said, my siblings, my mother, and I were legally the owner of my father's company shares. So after having a statement signed by the three of them, I approached all the board of directors, sans my grandfather, and let them know that I was now the sole representative of my late dad's estate. My grandfather also made himself chairman of the board. According to the company records, he did no work for the company at all, so the position was just a name that allowed him to receive money. So I convinced them that he was only chairman as representative of my father's estate, or I convinced them that since he was only chairman as representative of my father's estate, that made me the chairman. I did not intend to keep the position because I did not have the experience for it. So can you see where this is going?
I can, and now the story makes a little bit more sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I shouldn't just base my opinion off of the title or something. So weird.
Then I contacted other members of my extended family about my grandfather's unethical practices with the company's office space. He was eventually pressured by them into evicting the company's main competitor from their office space, serves them right for conniving with my grandfather to take the company's old office space. And that's just pretty devious right there, to kick the company out, go work in this garbage place that's cheaper, but I'm going to make money by letting your competition go into these nice offices and charge them a lot of money for it.
I mean, is there anything
It's
more
completely
than
unethical.
an a-hole could do than that?
So his grandfather finds out about all this and says, "Do you know that I'm the one who put him and his siblings through school?" he said in shock. I only went, "No, Dad did." The look of sheer embarrassment on his face was perfect. I've never seen him look defeated my entire life until that moment, and this sort of satisfaction could not be achieved by simply ratting him out. So there's more coming for the grandfather. I stepped down from the chairman position and took a job in the... I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. So we're going to go back where it serves him right for conniving with my grandfather to take the company's old office space. This paragraph is the whole point of the petty, and I completely skipped over it. At the next board meeting, I prepared for the moment I'd been waiting for my entire life. When he entered the conference room to preside over the meeting as the chairman, he found his chair facing away from the table with all the board members already seated at the table. And like a Bond villain, I spun the chair around to reveal to him that I'd been the one sitting there the entire meeting. I told him that the company and my family no longer needed him and that I'd be taking control over representation of my father's estate.
That is awesome.
That's when he said, "Do you know that I'm the one who put him and his siblings through school?" I only went, "No, Dad did." Now, the look of sheer embarrassment on his face was perfect. I've never seen him look defeated my entire life until that moment, and this sort of satisfaction could not be achieved by simply ratting him out. I stepped down from the chairman position and took a job in the company's treasury department as a bookkeeper with a meager salary, but at least now any profit sharing or dividends that the company released would go where my father wanted it to go. And finally, one of the first decisions I got to make as a board member before stepping down was to give my mother a permanent job that she deserved. So he fixed things for his family as a Bond villain.
I like it.
I've always wanted to do that, like spin around in a chair at someone in a room.
Listen, I'm not going to start a company and act like a devious a-hole so that you can come in and look like a Bond villain spinning around in a chair. Okay, I'll do it.
I really feel like that's why boardrooms have those taller chairs, just in case something like this ever has to happen. They don't have low back chairs. They have high back chairs, always, just in case someone wants to act like that.
Yeah. No, that's
what
absolutely
other reason
why.
Would they have?
No other reason.
Comfort? No.
It's not. Oh, it's not comfortable sitting in that.
But if you ever want to be a Bond villain, you're all set up.
Yeah.
Don't even have to plan it. So he stepped down. Mother's working there. My grandfather is now jobless. He spends all his time at home, and because he spent his life being selfish and self-centered, he has no friends. All he had going for him was being able to power trip over other people and boasting about his assets and achievements. Even my grandmother has had it with him, and the two don't even sleep in the same room anymore. I hope he lives the rest of his short life regretting that he didn't live his life with more compassion and humility. Edit, I've gotten a lot of comments about the legality of what went on. During all this, the only lawyer working in the company was my grandfather, and we all know he didn't do anything. When we hired a team of actual helpful lawyers, they told us exactly the same things you guys pointed out, which were in the comments, which I didn't read too detailed in, but apparently there's some legal
mumbo jumbo
about, obviously there had to be some sort of a will and who would be left the thing, so they've got lawyers sorting that out. But
they could make this into like a movie type thing.
Mm-hmm. So
put a couple murders in there and you got a good movie.
Hopefully the dad had a good...
What if it turns out that he's the one who gave the dad the stomach cancer?
Wow.
And that would be the murder for the movie. They need to make this into a movie.
Wow. We're going to make this into a movie.
This could be a movie.
Let's write it.
It should be a movie.
We'll write it. We'll get to...
I'm going to play the grandmother who's a misogynist. Aren't you pregnant yet? You can't go to medical school. I need 50 grandchildren.
Isn't this the same thing where like older people shouldn't play younger people, so younger people shouldn't play older people?
No.
So younger people should be able to play older people.
I'm going to look exactly like how I look now.
But you're still going to be younger.
Yeah, I'm going to be the old lady looking how I am now.
So you're saying you look old.
Exactly.
Got it. Figured it out. And there's one more update to this.
Mm-hmm.
Update. Apparently my sister saw this post and just informed me that he's kind of miserable now, talking about his grandfather, because his wife is angry at him because he siphoned what's left of their money to an extramarital sugar baby he had in another attempt at getting someone to affirm and glorify him. I guess he hasn't learned.
that just verifies this is a movie. At the very least, it is an amazing, like, Melrose Place drama thing. Show.
I could see this
my
being
God.
like an hour and a half Lifetime type movie, Lifetime drama movie,
This has
Hallmark
to happen.
Channel.
I
I can see the wheels spinning in your head.
I am going to become a B actress for this. I'm going to make this happen. Do you happen to know any producers?
There's got to be a producer that listens to this show.
Somewhere.
If you know a producer, get him in touch with us so that we can
So
put
we
this
can
movie
steal
together.
this guy's
We can
story.
steal this idea. We're not going to buy it from him. And then he's going to invite us to this meeting and he's going to turn around in a chair.
And then they'll make a movie out of that. He will have a never-ending movies about his life. Thank you. This is amazing. You just came up with the best idea ever. Oh my God. We're making this
We are
happen.
going to be very busy going forward with all of our podcasts, all of our movies we're making, our time machine, everything else that we have.
We'll make it happen.
We're going to have to figure out the time.
What part of we're going to make this happen are you not
We're probably
understanding?
going to have to end this podcast to do all the other things that we're going to do.
No, that's not an option. So
Okay.
figure out something else.
Well, anyways, that's the story. Very petty. Grandfather gets... Okay, before we end, is that pro-revenge?
That's beyond pro-revenge.
Wow.
That was really good.
Would it have been pro-revenge if he didn't spin around in the
No.
chair?
I was actually going to say the thing that makes it beyond pro-revenge is that he was in that chair to spin around.
I wish
the
I could
only thing
see
I
that.
wish that he had a cat. If he had a cat
And
in
was
his
petting
hands, yeah, then it would have been like over the top. Like I might have passed out from my excitement. You just heard the thump of my head on this table.
Now I know what kind of a story I've always wanted to see you pass out over a story that I told you. So now I know exactly what to look
So
for.
the other times you've seen me pass out,
I only
weren't
want to see you
exciting.
pass out over a
Over a
story I tell
story.
you. Not just any story, a story that I tell you
well,
that didn't happen to me or anyone you know.
if he had a cat, you would have seen it.
Hmm.
It's too bad.
Good to know.
It is good to know.
Well, that's our mini episode for this week. Go to letstalkpetty.com, stream all of our old episodes, download them, subscribe, buy merchandise, fax us, call us, email us, text us, do everything.
Tell the world.
Or at
Like
least
I
one
always say.
friend. World, one friend, somewhere in the middle.
I guess you have to start small.
Start small with one friend.
And then the world.
And then the world. But if you're not too busy telling the world, listen to our website and share it with one friend, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Please be sure and give our show a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.